Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So I'm sure a lot of you are already aware that the month of November is considered Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, but a lot of people don't know that the week following Father's Day in June is considered Men's Mental Health Awareness Week, and many people consider the full month of June to be a second month for men's mental health awareness. Now, how did some VTubers spend this past month of June? Well, they spent it attacking their male peers and men generally with some very hateful tweets. Tweets that made sweeping generalizations against their male peers, claiming that a lot of male VTubers are predatory in nature by virtue of their gender. And you want to stay around because there's a lot of these tweets, but we're going to end with the big finale, and that is a VTuber justifying the hatred of men by comparing men to disease-carrying insects. Yeah, a lot to go through today, but we're going to start with this tweet right here. This was the ground zero that sparked a lot of following tweets. It says, male VTubers love to have e-sex with their female viewers and then wonder why they can't hold an audience. I said what I said. And this VTuber, of course, would say what they said, and then, of course, limit the replies, and then eventually delete the tweet because they couldn't handle the smoke. But here's the thing. The big debate here was this tweet a generalization? Was it saying that all male VTubers act this sort of predatory way? Well, personally, I think it's very obvious that this is a sweeping generalization of all male VTubers, and that's kind of the whole point of the tweet. But in case you're still on the fence, just imagine applying this to like a community standard, right? If I took this language, copy and pasted it, and made a tweet replacing male VTubers with female VTubers, and replaced female viewers to male viewers, how would that tweet go? Would people think it's an individualized tweet, or would they think it's a generalization? Well, the entire VTubing community, the entire scene, would come after me for making a generalization, and they would call me a misogynist, and that's exactly how it would go. So I don't understand how this is any different, but nonetheless, it sparked a lot of controversy. And a lot of people immediately turned to this VTuber and were like, do you actually hate men? It seems like you have a bad attitude towards men. And we saw some responses like this at first and thought maybe they're trying to troll the situation and try to act like they're not taking it seriously. When users like this were upset about their comments, they replied with, I've changed my stance. All men are trash. And in further replies, this person quote retweeted their now deleted original thread and said sexism 100, where the VTuber responded, yes, I hate men. But this was the point where it really changed, and it seemed very obvious to me at least that their attitude towards men is very indicative of that original tweet. So this person quote retweeted the deleted thread saying, oh boy, more sexism during Men's Mental Health Month. Ain't that lovely? Where the VTuber responded, Men's Mental Health Month is in November, you stupid F. It's Men's Mental Health Week from June 12th to the 18th. At least be correct before being an effing moron. Yeah, that seems like a very measured response to that simple point this person was making. But another user would reply to them correctly saying, funny, you could say the same thing to you. Little research goes a long way, where the screenshot shows that June is considered Men's Mental Health Month to many. And of course, being proven wrong, this VTuber has no other response than to police the user's grammar, where another user would reply saying, don't act like you haven't been misspelling words this whole time, where the VTuber responds with, I hate men, which honestly seems a lot less like a joke and seems a lot more like their true intentions all along. And at the very least, even if it is a joke, read the room. People are upset with your generalizations about male VTubers, and maybe don't make jokes about hating men in the same threads. But this would be kind of where things get even worse. To conclude their drama, to spike the football, to get the last word in, the VTuber says, I've had fun with this drama, but this is the last post I'll be making on it now. I really do love men, especially their sexy, veiny, strong hands. Send hand pics, where of course, random users would send hand pics, and the VTuber would respond with, hi daddy. So it seems incredibly ironic to me that this all began with a thread where this VTuber was essentially making a sweeping generalization about male VTubers and how they're sex pests. And then they conclude this whole saga by asking men for hand pics, which, by the way, is definitely done with some sexual undertones, okay? We all know that every body part has been sexualized at this point. That's not shocking. But if you think that hands aren't sexualized by women, then you don't know anything about women. But that's a discussion for another day. It just seems very ironic and hypocritical that this is how they would end their thread about male sex pests, by ending it with a thread asking men for pictures of their veiny, strong hands, right? But hypocrisy and not following through on their own standards is something to do. You probably already knew this would happen at some point in this video. So they make their stance a while back saying they're anti-lolly. Well, you're anti-lolly. Are you anti-underage characters being sexualized in your likes? Like, please. These people can't follow through on their own standards, and this is just predictable at this point. But moving on, the big debate that came from this tweet and all of the accompanying ones is about generalizations. You know, is it all men who are predators? Is that fair to say? Of course not. But that's what people are trying to say, all these other VTubers and Twitter users. So we have this artist here making this tweet. I'll read it real quick. It says, "Can we shut the F up with all the not all men BS? 90% of the time, it's a man doing this awful predatory stuff. That's just the effing truth. Who are you to tell someone how they should feel about that? It's just like all lives matter. Just a way to discredit the minority. All you men trying to defend yourselves from this tweet, here's a newsflash. You're telling on yourself. Let it go and grow up." Yes, fellas, if someone makes a sweeping generalization about men, including you, and calls all of you predators, or in this case, 90% of abusers apparently being men, if you defend yourself or you have a problem with that, you must be a predator yourself, and you're just telling on yourself. Yeah, this is pretty ridiculous. And here's this whole thing, like, 90% of the time it's men doing this. Like, I would love to see any sort of evidence proving that, but based on my experience covering the VTubing scene, gender holds very little value when it comes to who are committing heinous acts. Yes, that includes bad male actors, but a lot of bad female actors too, whether it's your normal run-of-the-mill bullies that we've covered on this channel, or domestic abusers like MEOK, or all the way to the full-fledged pedophiles like EVA. These examples prove gender is not what is important. What's important is power and influence. All of these creeps, male or female, have abused their position of trust, authority, and power to take advantage of their peers and fans. Focusing on gender in these situations is missing the point entirely, besides the fact that you need to support it by just making up statistics to prove your bias in this situation. But moving on, we have another user throwing their hat in the ring, saying it's not all men, plus women aren't so innocent either, in quotes. And then they respond by saying, "Until the day a woman comes into my DMs asking to see my tits and starts trying to e-sext, I will not agree with you. Sorry, bud. I am yet to see a woman disregard my boundaries in the DMs. But as of right now, it's just men. So anyways, also, please stop disregarding people's experiences with men. You're weird for that. And instead of maybe say, wow, that sucks, instead of not all men." So I guess it's unsurprising that the obvious consequence of this thread is the production of clout-ridden blinders that have deluded this person into thinking only men can abuse people and only women can be victims. Your entire thread accomplishes one thing, and that's the blatant disregard for male victims of abuse. The fact that you're trying to gatekeep victimization pending on whether or not you, Twitter user Mega Milk Max, hasn't experienced it personally is so disgustingly manipulative. Like, I cannot believe someone's going to sit here and say, well, if this abuse hasn't happened to me, if I haven't seen it personally, then it probably didn't happen. That is a pretty crazy and disgusting thing to say. Like, my God, you've let your hatred of all this situation divulge your brain into thinking it's okay to deny victims their right to call out their abuse just because you haven't experienced it personally. That is so weird. Like, my God, you're not the main character here. But Speaking of main characters, there was a tweet just like this. Another VTuber saying, I don't know why, but I've seen this a lot. Dear male VTubers, you are not a main character in a harem/romance anime. VTubing isn't Tinder with extra steps. Some female VTubers may be lewd, but it doesn't make it okay. Your new false identity doesn't mean every girl will love you now. Another very strange projection here, I think. But I'm sorry to say, a lot of female VTubers are lewdtubers. That is not made to shame them. I don't care if people want to be lewdtubers. That's totally fine. But let's not pretend that there's not a huge volume of female VTubers that are lewdtubers. That's just the reality. Just like there's a lot of male VTubers who are lewdtubers as well. So I don't understand why we're separating based on gender here. Lewdtubers go across all genders. I don't understand why there's any difference between the two. Like, nobody should pretend that male VTubers aren't lewd, and nobody should pretend that female VTubers aren't lewd. I don't understand what that's all about. But this whole concept of a false identity, but it only is used against male VTubers. Again, this sounds like projection, but do you want to call out all of the female VTubers for having a false identity because their online persona and appearance don't identically match with their real life counterparts? No, you probably wouldn't. So why are you calling out male VTubers for this false identity? This whole thing about treating your career like a chance to have a dating app or to seek out romantic or sexual partners, that is a universal thing. It's not just guys doing it. It's strange to pretend like it is. But moving on to another tweet. If you are bored of me talking and you've had enough, let's listen to an actual abuse victim and how they view this whole situation. So this VTuber named Rad made this long tweet here saying, as a male VTuber and male victim of sexual abuse, I feel unheard by the community. In quotes, male VTubers are gross, but not all male, then it's not all about you. And they reply by saying, it's because I understand the severity of sexual abuse that I don't want it to become okay to say anything close to all male VTubers are predators, because that's pretty traumatizing, especially when a lot of victims of sexual abuse are men as well. Sweeping statements encourage vitriol. You don't see it, but we get a lot of daily hatred. We see a lot of bad comments like every day already. Thank you for all the people trying to support us though. Let's bring it back around to talking about actual victims and perpetrators, not whole demographics. It doesn't help anyone and derails the conversation from what actually matters, the victims. And of course, they gave some examples of people being rude to male VTubers. And you know what? They hit the nail on the head. This whole thing is supposed to be about supporting victims and calling out predators. Again, gender is not relevant, but sadly, people can't resist jumping on the male VTuber hate wagon, even if it's at the expense of good-intentioned individuals, like we're seeing in this thread. A lot of people just have good intentions and say, you know, let's not hate male VTubers, and they get met with a lot of hatred. And even women who are supporting male VTubers in this time are called pick-me's and all this other stuff. It's really sad to see. But I want to end on the craziest thread I've seen in quite some time. So it's been deleted, but luckily we were able to get some screenshots before it went down. But this VTuber tried to justify everything, okay? So in response to a lot of this hatred, open hatred of male VTubers over the past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of support threads encouraging and providing support for male VTubers, as well as groups starting as male support systems for male VTubers, which is a great thing. It's a great thing. Women should do that. Men should be able to do that too. But this person addressed that by saying, making a male VTuber support group just at the moment where women express their feelings and experiences is crazy. Y'all need to chill and actually get a bit of reading comprehension. Check this below. If after that you still don't understand, it might be terminal. Not gonna lie. Let's see their little short story that will justify being fearful and hating male VTubers and men generally. So, story goes, not all men. As humans, we generalize things. For example, we say, be careful of ticks. They carry Lyme disease. But no one says, Actually, not all ticks carry Lyme disease, because logically we all understand that enough ticks carry Lyme disease to put you at risk of being infected. And they end it with, when we speak up about women's oppression and abuse, obviously we know it's not all men. But when 1 in 3 women are assaulted by a man in their lifetime, it's enough men to make all women afraid. First of all, again, I wish Twitter would have done a little bit of a fact check on that last part, but understand that their justification for all of this toxic behavior being directed towards male VTubers is justified by comparing them to disease-ridden ticks. Yes, you are trying to excuse all of these bad things and bad generalizations being made about male VTubers by comparing them to a disease-ridden insect. I got nothing. I really got nothing. I think this all speaks for itself. Of course, they deleted this thread after getting absolutely bombed by people, and rightfully so. But that's going to do it for this video. I can't imagine a better way to end it on this note of lunacy that has really defined this video. But as we close out, I want to say I appreciate all of my male peers in the VTubing scene. You guys are appreciated. Men's mental health, very important. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. That's number one. And yeah, please share all of your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.